During the 2024 Olympics in Paris, the World Anti-Doping Agency, known as WADA, released a bombshell statement that disclosed that the US has, for a decade now, allowed some of its athletes to use prohibited drugs in violation of anti-doping rules. According to WADA, the US Anti-Doping Agency, USADA, allowed certain athletes to use these drugs because they were being recruited as informants. What the US authority is saying is that we allow some of our athletes to violate the anti-doping rules in the name of catching other athletes, which is obviously deeply hypocritical. The USADA, the US Anti-Doping Agency, is not a police force. This is an agency that is supposed to make sure that its athletes do not violate rules on the use of prohibited drugs, especially in international competitions like the Olympics. The US does not make the rules for other countries and for international sporting events. And this means that the US may be barred from holding the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028. And the US is also slated to host the Olympics in 2034. The United States has often politicized international sporting events. This is not new. Now, China has obviously become the main competitor to the US team. The US and China, in fact, they tied for #1 in the number of gold medals in the 2024 Olympics. So the US has a vested interest in trying to cause problems for its main competitor. Now, in the past two Olympics, the US has accused the Chinese teams of supposedly using prohibited substances. In fact, in the 2020 Olympics, the World Anti-Doping Agency did an investigation into these US allegations, and they came to the conclusion that they were not true. This has also led to harassment of Chinese athletes. In the 2024 Olympics, the average member of the Chinese swimming team was subjected to 21 different drug tests on average, whereas the average member of the US swimming team was only subjected to 6 drug tests, and the average member of the swimming teams from European countries and Japan only had to do 4 drug tests. So clearly, Chinese athletes were being held to a much higher set of standards, which is obviously unfair. But the reason that happened is because the US made these accusations, which are rooted in ultimately a very aggressive campaign by the US government to try to demonize China in all international spheres, not only sports, but including international trade, infrastructure development, economic policy, military policy.